Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. This episode is sponsored by Rimmel Greenhouse Systems, makers of quality greenhouse structures. Whether you're just getting started or buying your 10th tunnel, Rimmel has a structure to fit your needs. I've purchased and grown in Rimmel houses and would recommend them to everyone. Hey, Thriving Farmers, Michael here with yet another episode of the Thriving Farmer Podcast. And today my guest is Frisky Girl Farm, and we have Ellen and Ashley, and they farm on 8 acres. It's a woman-owned, operated vegetable and flower farm in North Bend, Washington. They are entering their 4th growing season. They use sustainable growing practices to grow fresh, healthy food for their community. Farmers Ellen and Ashley, along with a small but mighty team, grow over 40 varieties of vegetables and 20 varieties of flowers for their 200-member CSA, restaurants, the North Bend Farmers Market, and their roadside stand. They believe in growing food that is good for people and the planet. They never use any synthetic pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers, and practice organic techniques such as composting, crop rotation, and cover cropping. This season, we are adding an additional 3 acres of growing space where they plan to operate a U-pick, sunflower patch, and pumpkin patch. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So how did you guys get started?
Well, we actually decided to become business partners before we ever met. So we had a mutual friend who was running an urban farm where Ashley was working at the time. And they invited me to come help them farm once the owner of that farm was leaving, and the 3 of us ended up taking over, and we farmed together there for a year before our other partner left. And then Ashley and I realized that we work really well together and decided to continue running the urban farm for the next 2 years, and then we transitioned here to Frisky Girl Farm, where we have 5 acres.
Yeah. Very cool. And where was that farm located? In the same area?
Seattle, yeah, about 30 miles west of here.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool. And before you were doing that, what were your life plans, if I may ask?
I had a cubicle job for a while. That was not great. And then I did some other odd jobs, dog walking. What else? I worked in a yarn warehouse. Yeah, cleaned houses, and it just, there's not enough snacks. So a job where I could just graze constantly all day.
It's interesting you say that, because one of the crew, we were walking around the farm the other day, and it's like, my gosh, you're always eating. And I was like, well, that's why I farm.
Yeah,
because it's delicious.
Merchandise, make sure it's good.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually really interesting this year. And we'll see if it changes, but I had COVID over the wintertime, and my taste didn't do anything, I didn't think, until pepper season happened.
Yes.
And now peppers taste like plastic to me.
Oh no.
I know, it's so disappointing, but
I just moved here. We can't grow peppers this year. It's too cold.
Yes, we have, Carmen's, which is our favorite. We've been growing that one for a decade now, at least. The lunch boxes, lots of lunch boxes, and then all the hot peppers too are fun too. But yeah, so share your backstory.
Yeah, so this is Ellen, by the way. I am one of those weird people who decided at age 18 what I wanted to do with my life, and then have basically been doing it ever since. So,
oh, cool.
My first semester of college, I took this class called America's Dysfunctional Food System. And that led me down the path of learning more about where food comes from. And then I started volunteering on the farm at my university, and then working there, and eventually living on that farm and working on another farm. And then after college, interned on farms kind of all across the country in Michigan, Vermont, Montana, Oregon, and Washington, before my final season as an intern was at One Leaf Farm, which is about 30 miles from here in Snohomish. And then Ashley and I started running the urban farm together, which was now 7 years ago.
Oh, very cool. So how'd you come up with the name Frisky Girl Farm?
I think it was a joke.
Yeah, it was during our year at the urban farm with our other farm partner, and they were joking one time about how Ashley and I would try to outwork each other, and they were like, oh, someday you guys are gonna have this farm and you're gonna work like 16 hours a day and it's gonna be called Frisky Girl Farm. Oh.
And they were not wrong.
When it came time to decide what our new farm was going to be called, we didn't have any ideas. Yeah, we had already been joking about it for years, so it just seemed to fit, and it's very memorable. People ask us about it all the time.
That and our logo.
Yeah. So share with us your marketing. So where do you sell your products?
About half the produce we do a CSA. So we stole the model from our urban farm. We have a free choice model. So basically the buy-in at the beginning of the year lasts for 25 weeks of the season. We send out a fresh sheet to the CSA members every week, and then they go online and place their order, or they don't. And so they can spend it each way, whatever way they want, which is nice because then you can have more members versus on the urban farm, we were only a half acre and we had a 50 member CSA, and coming up with 50 matching boxes every single week was not going to be a realistic option. So the whole pick and choose thing is pretty nice model. And then we just kind of scaled it up. Other than that, we have the farmers market, which we attend once a week from June through September here in North Bend. And then the bulk of the rest of our sales are actually from our roadside farm stand. And then we have a couple restaurants that we sell to in Seattle and surrounding area.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about with the free choice then. So what program do they use to place their order? Is it a Google form? Is it an email?
It is a custom built website. My roommate is a programmer, and he took the bones of the old system and made it better.
Awesome.
That's the way I can describe it. Is it's basically like using a Google Excel, or what is that? Google Sheets. Yeah. So the customers don't see that side of it, but for our interface, it's all run through Google Sheets, and then it just sits on the back end of our website. So members go and log in, there's a picture and a little box, and they can choose the quantity of what's available and then put it in their shopping cart. And then each morning before harvest, we just close the orders, and it generates a little printout for everyone's individual order, as well as a pick list for how many of each crop we need to pick.
Yeah. And we've found that the free choice CSA model has worked really, really well for us, really well for our customers. So as Ashley was saying, we don't have to, even though we have a 200 member CSA, we don't have to have 200 of the same boxes every week. And the beauty of, natural human variation, people order different things. And so so we harvest twice a week for the CSA, 100 each time. And even though we have 100 people who have the option to order, we almost never have more than like 50 of any individual item ordered. And then we try to be as adaptable as possible for our CSA members. So they can order as much or as little as they want each week, or they can order nothing at all. And then we also have a fridge at each of our pickup locations. So they don't have like a tiny 2-hour harvest window where they have to go pick up their share. They have all week, anytime they want to go pick it up, they can go. And we found that has been really key for us for maintaining our CSA retention and for getting new members, is because it's so customizable. And also with the free choice, we're able to offer a lower buy-in because not everyone wants, 7, 8 items
worth of vegetables.
Yeah, and that's not affordable for everyone. So we have a sliding scale between 400 and 600, and that's where our members buy in, and then they spend that like a debit account, and then if they run out of money mid-season, they can always re-up. But for people who might not want, $1,200 worth of vegetables for the season, it's a really good choice.
Okay, so then what are you packing in? Are you packing in boxes, bags, totes?
Bags. We have a ton of reusable bags that we've collected over the years. And so Ellen and I split laundry duty once a week. Wash the bags, and then so it's like a little slip of paper with the name, where the order's going, and what is in it, and then just lay out all the food in our pack area, and everyone goes through and fills an individual order, and then it gets a clothespin with their name, and it goes in the cooler.
Okay, so you're just saying, when you say reusable bags, like just the totes you'd get, maybe Acres USA on it or something like that.
Yeah, we have a wide variety of different bags. And Ashley actually one winter as a project sewed a bunch of old t-shirts into bags. So
fun.
There are some hilarious like old NSYNC concert bags, and
that's a good bag.
Yeah.
It's like my memories every week we get to go through.
That is really cool. I'm sure the members really like, they post about that, or talk about that, hey, I got that bag this week or something like that. Yeah. I'm looking at your Facebook page here, and you do a great job sharing that. What do you call a vegetable heist?
Oh,
I forgot.
Farmed robbery.
Okay. You also had one about lettuce up here a little further. I think it was maybe this week's. A kayaker's favorite type of lettuce.
Oh yeah,
romaine.
Okay, that's good.
Oh yeah, if you go back, we've got a million of them.
Yeah. We may have to start stealing some of these for our farm.
They're great. We post the joke in the farm stand every week, and our customers really like it.
Yes, I mean, you seem to engage really well on there. Like, some people are calling you our ladies of the lettuce, which I thought was clever. So let's see, what type of people shop with you?
I would say our primary demographic is older white women.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's I mean, we have a lot of young families in our CSA as well, and then the roadside farm stand is really whoever is around. We live on a fairly busy road, and so
we're the only vegetable farm in North Bend.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So we live in a really rich agricultural area. Like, there are many small farms within a 30-minute drive of us, but we are the only vegetable farm in the city of North Bend, which is about 8,000 people. And then there's a neighboring town of Snoqualmie, which is like 10,000. And both of those areas attract a lot of members. We're kind of right in between the two.
Well, that's great. Yeah, because that kind of demographic there. So we're in a town of like 5,500, and we're one of two stands. Although, I mean, they're a fruit stand. We're actually a farm stand because we're actually farmers. They grow sweet corn and tomatoes only. So, I mean, they're still farmers, but it's more of a fruit stand. So, yeah. So talk a little bit about your climate. You're in North Bend. Talk through the weather. I mean, you mentioned before we actually started recording the heat dome last year, and how you're actually, cooking as we speak right now. We'll kind of share typically what the weather looks like and kind of like the farming season.
It's getting wacky, but traditionally we are in a temperate rainforest type of climate. So it rains basically from October through July 4th. This year was particularly wet and cold. That made it very challenging. But yeah, it's not very hot here in the summer. So when it goes up above 80, 90 degrees, you get some whiners.
Yeah.
But yeah, really long days in the summer. I think the sun sets at like 10 in June, and then it's up by 4. So really, really long. Lots of potential for work.
Yeah.
In that time of year.
Yeah, and it's been pretty crazy, the difference between this year and last year, where we were, it started being in the 80s in April last year, and then it was basically 80 or above every single day until the end of September. And
it did not rain.
And it didn't rain at all. And this year has been the exact opposite. We're going into a heat wave this coming week, but beyond that, it has been the coldest spring
70 degrees
ever.
And raining last weekend. So
yeah, and so I know you talked to Farmer Ryan from Steel Wheel Farm, and a lot of farmers down in the valley were dealing with the threat of flooding in June. Like, it just did not stop raining until about 2 weeks ago here, and it's been a cold spring. Like we were saying, none of our peppers are growing this year because it's
snowed
too
in
cold.
April.
Yeah, it's just been terrible. So a lot of farmers are behind. But so one of the reasons that we are the only farm in North Bend is because though the farmers, so we live near a huge waterfall and a large watershed, the Snoqualmie River and the Snoqualmie Falls. And down in the valley below the falls, all of the farmers there are at risk of flooding and basically go underwater a few times each winter. We're here above the falls, so we don't have a risk of flooding. But we are in a convergence zone where the weather coming off of the Snoqualmie Pass converges with like the
Rattlesnake Ridge.
And the climate's coming from the Puget Sound, and it just all runs up against. So we live at the base of this really beautiful mountain called Mount Si, and everything kind of converges, runs into the mountain, and then just drops on us. So we get these really dramatic windstorms, rainstorms, hailstorms, like a lot of more inclement weather than farmers down below the falls are dealing with. And obviously, it's just different things. But also of note, people complain about it raining in Seattle. They get like 38 inches of rain a year. Here in North Bend, we get about 68 inches of rain a year on average. So it's almost twice as much.
Okay, so how do you deal with it? Lots of tunnels? Do you just know it's going to rain?
Yeah. We cry a lot now.
So we do have lots of tunnels, although we want more. It's only our 4th season, so we're still building up our infrastructure. And we've found that we basically can't have the Farmer's Friend tunnels here. They just break. Yeah, we've lost 2 of them in windstorms in our time here. So we do still we're using them as our prop house, but
they're like really over-engineered.
We've seriously reinforced them. And then we have 2 other high tunnels that are 30 by 96.
And they're sunk 4 feet in the earth with steel pipes so they don't blow away.
And those are like more strong high tunnels that we got an NRCS grant for, and then the other we just knew we needed more greenhouse space and decided to build.
Luckily we don't have to deal with like snow load here, so
so there is no snow in the wintertime.
It typically snows like once for real, maybe, but it doesn't last. It'll stay for a week at most, and it's typically like 6 inches to a foot, so that's not a big concern.
So then I'm interested in these beefing up of these tunnels. What kinds of things have you done to make them survive?
So we can't pour concrete because we are in the floodway. So what we've done is we added more purlins, and then we anchored the end walls in the earth a similar way as the big ones. So all of our structures are now, we drive pipes 3 feet down, and then that seems to, securing the end walls has really added some rigidity to them. And then they all have wind bracing. So basically the side wood paneling that goes across to hold the wiggle wire track. On the inside, there's a 2x4 angled down to support the windy side from just collapsing. And then that is sunk into the earth.
Even that is of note, like that we have wooden baseboards and a wooden board across like 4 feet up. The Farmer's Friend don't come standard with. And then we also, we have 2 additional side purlins and additional cross bracing in the Gothic peak on every single purlin or every single bow.
Okay.
Just more metal.
We actually manufacture our own, and we actually have a course on it in our small farm university, but it sounds like you're even going one step beyond what we typically go. we do a purlin crossbar every other bow, typically 5-foot bow spacing when every other, so every 10 feet. And we actually custom manufacture these corner plates, which allow us to angle rebar into the ground and spike it in. And so basically that holds that plate down, and then that's what you tie your corner ropes to. And that's on the windward corner of our block. So we have a big block of tunnels. We have 4 tunnels in one block and then 4 other tunnels behind it, another block. And we supposedly hit 70 miles an hour this year, and we haven't really had any problems. So we had one tunnel in the back. We spaced at 10-foot spacing on the bows. A few little problems with that, but it didn't fall over or anything. It just kind of, worried it a little bit. But
what's the diameter of the pipe you're using?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're using top rail, which is 1 3/8.
Okay.
The first time we bought 14 gauge, and that was back when steel was cheap.
That's not a problem.
And this last time we got 17 gauge because it was half the cost of the 14 gauge. And we really, I wouldn't say there's a massive difference in strength. Again, we don't have the amount of snow that obviously if you in the Northeast would have. I mean, we don't have the 4 feet. We have, like you said, 6 to 12 inches max during the wintertime. So, yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, the weather keeps getting more extreme, so you never know.
Yeah. And then we deal, it varies from year to year, but we've had years where there's been really bad wildfire smoke that we have to deal with. And, we had a hailstorm May 31st of 2020 that just devastated, like all of our tomatoes basically died.
Gosh.
And yeah, we had just planted out our zucchini, like holes in everything.
Yeah.
So, that extreme. And then we get really bad windstorms, like starting in September and October, 70 to 80 miles an hour. So we are now on the 4th iteration of our wash pack station. So we got shipping containers.
I think we're gonna win.
I think the wind will not blow those away.
Yes.
Really hope.
Because now go back to, you said you're on a floodway, so that means you can't put concrete. So you technically couldn't concrete in 4x4s or pour a pad for a wash pack, a real wash pack. Wow.
Yeah, we're not allowed to have any permanent structures on our farm, and not anything besides greenhouses is not allowed to be more than 200 square feet. So
wow.
And this is it's just a silly zoning issue because we're in the path where the river used to run. And even though we don't flood here, it's just because of zoning.
Yeah, well, it sounds like the same silly flood zone that we're in. Yeah, we actually had to pay money to get our house out of the flood zone, and we did successfully, but it saves us $1,600 a year in flood insurance. So it was worth that. I've kind of freaked out about a month ago when I got a letter from my insurance said, hey, due to the recent changes, your house is in a flood zone. I was like, oh no. Did they like reclassify? No, it was just someone messing up on the paperwork. Yeah. But for those few days, I was quite perturbed. But I mean, it is interesting that kind of stuff happens. And so do you have like 2 shipping containers next to each other, or what's your configuration?
They're 8 by 20 and they are 2 feet apart.
Okay.
And then we also have a 3rd structure that we built that is where our walk-in cooler lives.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those 3 structures kind of all in a line comprise our wash pack area.
Yeah. And that is very necessary infrastructure.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about like the first couple of years of getting started on your land. How did you find your property to start with?
Well, we got really lucky. So we knew the urban farm was coming to an end. The house where our greenhouse was sold and changed owners. And so we knew it was going to be the last year. They let us finish out the season, but then onward. So we met someone at a networking event for people in food systems, women in food systems. And it turned out to be like a bunch of food bloggers. However, this one woman who was starting a zero waste grocery store, she overheard us chatting with someone that we were looking for new land, and her dad had 20 acres that he wanted to have farmed but didn't know how to farm. And so we came out here and saw the view, met with him, and it was like, all right, we're in. And then we learned about the terrible weather in North Bend.
Yeah, and I mean, so many challenges. When we started, this was a field of grass, and the first thing we did was build an electric fence to keep the elk out, because there's a herd of 40 elk that formerly 40-ish would run through the property every night, and like this was a field of grass where they would stand and graze. So we built the fence, and then we built the prop house, and in the middle of that I broke my collarbone, and so Ashley had to do all of the heavy lifting for the first year.
And we didn't have a tractor, so we did everything. We did 5 acres with the BCS rototiller. I was so strong in 2019.
Yeah, we have a Super C cultivating tractor, and at the end of the summer, my forearms are just ginormous.
That's great. That's great.
Because there's no power steering, and you're just fighting that thing the whole time.
Nice.
Yeah. So little did we know how terrible the wind would be, how much of a problem the elk would be, how strong the weeds would be. I
didn't even know how to drive a lawnmower. Like, we didn't know anything.
We learned so much.
Like, how have we been doing this for years?
Yeah. So then what does your equipment look like now?
So we still have the BCS. We've got a little Kubota tractor, which is great because we are both small people, and often when folks scale up from an urban farm to a big farm, they change their bed sizes. We did not do that, so we still do 2-foot bed, 2-foot path, and it's great because the tractor is exactly that size. Other than that, I mean, the tractor has a rototiller, we've got a bed shaper, and then a field mower, but for the most part we do a lot by hand. Like, almost all the weeding is done by hand. What else? Yeah, bed prep. Like, we don't have a manure spreader. We borrowed our friend Ryan's lime spreader this season, but before it's just like, take a 50-pound bag, walk 100 feet, go.
Yeah.
Like 400 some beds, so that gets old real quick.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But the view is just absolutely fabulous.
We are very spoiled. When it's nice here, it's like really nice.
Yeah, I can imagine. Man, that is gorgeous. And I do highly recommend folks head over to Frisky Girl Farm on Facebook and just check out the pictures of how everything's laid out and the wash pack shed and all that good stuff. So, all right. So then with your cropping, are you just doing a standard mix across of most vegetable crops and flowers, or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
We don't really grow much weird stuff anymore.
North Bend as a small town, I mean, we are in the Pacific Northwest, so there definitely are a lot of foodies, but overall we've found that the people here tend to be more like normal eating patterns. They don't necessarily want all the weird stuff. They would just want us to grow their lettuce and tomatoes and squash and cucumbers. Romaine lettuce. That's been the funny one, is our customers love romaine lettuce, and I'm not sure why, but that's what everyone has decided. That's okay. Potentially, we did decide. We did decide to grow more of it after a couple of years ago. There were like multiple outbreaks of E. coli and salmonella in romaine specifically, and we were like, well, let's grow a little more of that because it's not safe at the grocery store.
Now you're doing a salad fest. Tell me about that. What does that mean?
Our annual event is back. COVID be damned. So it's really a party at the farm. We do tours, and then there'll be like yard games and stuff. But the main event, so we do a lettuce shotgun, and that means you eat a head of lettuce as fast as you can, and the winner gets a free CSA share next year. So
it's lettuce shotgun a la shotgunning a beer.
Okay. Do I get to pick my type of dressing, or is it just,
no dressing? No, it's just full head of lettuce. I will present a bin, and you get to pick which lettuce out of the bin, but you don't get a lot of time to choose. Nope. It's just
You'd be shocked how hard it is.
I can imagine. And how many people sign up?
Oh,
We'll have people
yeah.
signing up at like the day of at the
I
event.
feel like in the last one we did, it was like 30 to 50 people did
Oh,
it.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing. We all just like stand in a giant circle, and there's like a timekeeper and a referee, and then
because you don't have to eat the butt, but
Okay.
everything else gotta get it in
See,
there.
I lost an ice cream eating contest because I was cleaning my cup too clean.
Yep. See, there you go.
See, I was, again, I was raised 7 kids. You licked that last bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then we're really excited. This year we're gonna have a petting zoo. We're gonna have some puppies from a local animal shelter or sanctuary. And we'll have food. There'll be live music. It's gonna be a big party and a really good time.
Yeah.
Nice. Who did the design for your salad gets you ripped? Kind of like, is that your logo or is that just a kind
of... So that's actually a real picture of us, and I had one of my graphic designer friends turn it into a cartoon.
Very cool.
The salad gets you ripped. I think that was a similar joke. Just like, oh, you guys are so ripped. It's like,
that salad.
That salad. Or lifting 50-pound bags of lime by hand 400 times.
Well, the part we don't tell people is that it's actually growing salad that gets you ripped. But
yes,
hashtag.
You let them believe it's the eating of it and help sell more salad.
So we've really taken the approach of rooting a lot of our marketing in humor, and people.
Well, and it comes out very clearly on your Facebook page, and it fits your personality too. So. Yeah, it's awesome. I even see you've got like a Harvest Day flex going on in front of the fully stocked farm stand. The kind of that reflection. I mean, that. Oh, yeah, that's me. Very nice. Very nice. So you live in a little more cooler summer. What varieties tend to do well in the coolness for, let's say, I mean, obviously peppers, cucumbers are some of the more challenging crops to grow in the cold.
Sun golds do great here.
Yeah,
cherry tomatoes. Yeah.
And then we grow shishitos and poblanos are the ones that are typically our most reliable peppers, although this year the shishitos all died. They got eaten by slugs.
Yeah, the poblanos look great, though. I think we will have those. We went out on a limb and tried to grow habaneros. That's not happening.
No.
No.
Yeah, and then we do our cucumbers in the spring in high tunnels. We just started this year growing paraiso. And those seem great. And then, we grow a lot of salad. We grow a lot of arugula, spicy salad mix, baby lettuce mix, and then a lot of head lettuce. So those are things that do great here.
Yeah.
And then are you using the Salanova varieties or?
Yeah, it's slightly different. It's called Easy Leaf. It's from High Mowing, but Osborne. Same. Yeah.
We have done those in the past. One thing I've been just absolutely loving is the green and red. I think they're the green and red crisp head Salanovas.
Oh.
But I think, I think this is last year's catalog, so I don't think it's going to have it here, but maybe they did have it last year. They had to have it last year because we got it last year and then they ran out midsummer and we got so disappointed. The red and green Batavian, which is like a crisp head type, but heavy, tasty. And we used to grow like the oak leaves and I just didn't like them. So now we do red and green Batavian, green sweet crisp, red sweet crisp, and they've got some new ones which we're going with, which is it's a new one. I think they've got this year. I don't have actually a this year catalog. I gave it away.
We've been growing a lot more varieties from Osborne Seed Company, which is local here in Mount Vernon, Washington, and they're awesome. Like we started, trying to buy more from them because they are local and often. So our main seed companies are Johnny's, High Mowing, and Osborne, and a few others here and there. But we, wanted to buy from Osborne, and years ago it was harder. And now I think, have really gotten a lot more competitive as far as varieties they have available and price points. And so
Plus being so close, when you run out of something, it's here like in a day or two, which is great.
Yes. Yeah. That was from moving from New York to Ohio. It added a whole day to shipping. And that was so it really don't think about it. But when you expect that seed the day after you order or 2 days after you order, now it's, so it can be just a little bit longer. But yeah, having that local must be very nice. And then have you ever gotten down there or up there to check out their variety trials? Because I know they do substantial variety trials.
No, but it's on the list.
Yeah. They're one of those. So it's interesting. Like Johnny's won't show you the trials behind the scenes unless you're on site. And I've been on site and they'll walk you through and you can look at the different varieties. But Osborne for a while there was running the seed blog where they would show you like, here's the 8 radishes we tried in this thing. Here's them lined up. Here's why we like the different ones. And that right there was just fabulous information.
Yeah, that's really great.
Unfortunately, it was for the Pacific Northwest, so which doesn't quite relate to what we're doing, but it was still very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. No, they're awesome. And one thing that we've been really excited about, we switched our spicy salad mix to their mild and wild brassica mix, and it's amazing. We were using a mix from Johnny's called the Elegance Greens mix, and that was fine, but it only, I think, had 4 or 5 different varieties in it, whereas this has like 8 or 10.
It's great.
And it's just got such a diversity of flavor. All of the things grow at a consistent height and a consistent weight. And it's like beautiful. We've been so excited.
Nice.
There's leaves in there that are like pretty zesty.
Yeah.
Got a kick to it. It's
definitely
good.
A spicy salad mix.
Yeah. So with do you guys do any microgreens or is it more just the bigger vegetables? Okay.
Yeah, we just do like a standard mild mustard mix that's red and green, and it's fine. We don't sell a lot of microgreens.
Yeah. Again, going back to what people want in your area.
We tried pea shoots and sunflowers in the past, and neither of those really sold very well. So
yeah, back to the standards.
Yeah.
Nelson carrot, Satakoy melon, buffalo tomatoes, Megatron leek. What do all these varieties have in common? Well, they're all dinosaurs or varieties that were dropped by the trade for one reason or another. So what do smart growers do? Well, if they can, they buy a bunch of seed before it goes out of stock and freeze it while they scramble to find new varieties that are going to work better. But the problem is that eventually seed vitality goes down and the seed is no longer good. Is there anything you can do to revive the seeds? Well, introducing Ultra, an organic seed treatment, or as I like to say, a seed defibrillator. To back up a bit, we were able to get 20 kernels of what we now call Gill's Select, a rare Indian corn variety from Gill's Sweet Corn Farm in the Hudson Valley. We grew it out, distributed it to a number of farmers, and then life happened. About a decade later, I found the seed at the bottom of our freezer, and we took most of the seeds and tried to germinate them in a greenhouse. Only a few came up. Not enough to have good genetic diversity. Last year, with only a few handfuls left and a Hail Mary attempt, I soaked them with Ultra for 24 hours, then struck them into some trays and popped them into our germ chamber. 72 hours later, we started seeing shoots, and this year, even with an 8-week drought, we had a wonderful yield of corn. We sold some and kept back most of it for future seed stock. I'm confident that we wouldn't have been able to continue this lost variety without Ultra. Here's the best news yet. AgriGrow has agreed to offer a 10% discount to all Thriving Farmer listeners. Simply use the coupon code THRIVE when you check out. Again, that is THRIVE for a 10% off discount on your first order. Go to smallfarm.solutions for more information. Talk a little bit about your flower side of the farm, because that's something we're playing around with a little bit. I'd love to hear kind of how you make it work.
Yeah, so trial and error, man. It is flowers like hot weather, and we don't have a lot of that. So we also don't have a heated greenhouse, or the prop house. So getting them started in an appropriate manner is often challenging. So we've consolidated. We used to space them out. Our farm is broken up into 12 100-foot by 100-foot blocks. And the first couple years, we planted one bed of each of those blocks in flowers. And I don't know why it didn't dawn on me until last year, but that just makes harvesting them a real pain in the butt. So we consolidated them this year. Ones that do great, zinnias and sunflowers. Those are real easy to grow and they're real beautiful. So short and sweet. The other ones that I really like are straw flower. That one a little more challenging because it does need warmer weather, but it produces kind of like a papery type of flower, and it does really well dried. So I've been trying to play around with stuff you can dry, which is also challenging because condensation is a problem here. So getting anything truly dry is hard, but it gets cold here in October, and we don't have a tunnel dedicated to flowers or anything like that. So trying to get more into the dried flower game as far as season extension goes, because there's really no way to bring it forward earlier in the year. Trying to peer pressure Ellen into letting me do tulips next year since we have more tunnel space, but we'll see how that goes.
And why do you have to peer pressure her into it?
Well, Ashley is really the flower witch, so she's always going off and doing mischief and trying things with the flowers, and that's kind of her area of the farm where I just give her autonomy, and because I mean, I think the flowers are beautiful, and I am, you know, that's great, but that's definitely not my area of expertise, and I let Ashley just take charge over that one. But one of the things that has also been challenging with the flowers is that a lot of flower growers really rely on perennial crops, and we have two problems with that. We have really insane weed pressure. Like, we just, because this was a field, it was a pasture before we got here, and we've only been here for 4 years, so we've tried to stay on top of it. Like, the perennial grasses have been really, really bad, and then we also have some dock that has a very deep taproot and is really aggressive and hard to weed out. So
if it's not in landscape fabric, it's not going to live here.
Yeah, that combined with the elk so we live here in the summer, but in the winter, we both live in other places. And when we're not here, though we have an electric fence, it's more of a visual barrier. Like, as soon as one of them gets in and knocks it down, then the whole herd comes in, and we basically can't overwinter anything because they just decimate it.
They kind of move in and it's theirs then.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
All right, share a little bit. You mentioned there a little bit how Ashley's the flower person. How do you divide roles in the farm? Do you have clearly defined roles? Do you kind of just get at it together?
Oh, yes. We've basically divided the tasks into front of house, back of house. So Ellen is in charge of front of house. So she does all the email, the communications, sales, all that kind of stuff. And then I do the taxes and the bookkeeping and the accounting side of things.
Yeah. And then it works out really well. Ashley and I just have like very complementary interests. And so
I don't do sales.
Ashley loves driving the tractor, and I like leading the crew. And so she'll be off, doing bed prep and tilling, and then I will be with the crew doing the planting or the weeding or whatever. And then we also split, like, I am more of like the harvest manager. So I, have an eye on everything that's going to be ready. And then Ashley does, like the field work and like makes the plan for what we're going to plant each week and where things are going. And so, cool. It works out really well. We've figured out how to split up the tasks, and it is so nice having a farm partner.
Yeah, because you can take a day off and you don't have to explain your job to someone else because they have the same job.
Yes. So, but I'm assuming as you were getting started with the farm, there was probably some hiccups of trying to figure out who did what.
Yeah, just finding the balance. Like, I'd say naturally we were both inclined, like, I am terrible at writing. So Ellen, you do the CSA emails. I'm not doing that. And Ellen does not like spreadsheets very much. So I do the record keeping and the books and like that.
Yeah. And we were sure when we first started the farm, we were sure that we were going to like go at each other because we're both only children. So we were like, oh, we both need to get our way. This is going to
be right 100% of the time.
Yeah. So the staff will joke sometimes because one of us will tell them one thing and one of us will tell them something different. And we both are so sure that we are right. And so sometimes they end up a little confused, but
We tried writing it down once as far as like defining tasks clearly, but I don't know where that paper went. So
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes that can be challenging. Make sure that we're in the process of doing the SOP manual for our entire farm. And I'm telling you, it's tough.
yes.
Because it's variable too. Like at the beginning of the season, we have to pick tomatoes into our mushroom totes because they're so low to the ground. But about week 6 of tomato season, now you're picking the belly buckets because they're now at 3 feet. So it's one of those things where like the SOP gets longer, but then you also have to make sure like, okay, guys, now what's the most efficient way to do this? And, watching crew learn how to be efficient, because people aren't naturally efficient. They like naturally carry one box at a time all the way across the farm by themselves instead of loading 4 onto a cart and moving them all at once. I don't know if you've ever experienced that.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's been so as you mentioned at the top, we have scaled up this year from 5 to 8 acres, and we're doing 3 acres of U-pick at a second farm site. And so our staff has naturally increased significantly. And so before, making sure that like everybody knew all the things, like there were only 5 of us, and then that was okay. But now that there are like 7, 8, sometimes we have volunteers and work trade CSA members, like just making sure that everyone knows how to do all the things in the most efficient way has been really challenging this season.
Absolutely. Yeah, we use iPhones, take videos, they get loaded into Google Photos, and then we grab the link and that gets inserted into the SOP too. So that also gives us now a video version of it that we can have them, hey, go watch that, which sometimes helps. Sometimes. So.
I found one thing that has been very helpful this year is during harvest, telling them the next time that we're going to be picking the thing, like beans or peas, for example. It's like, what is an appropriate size to pick? Well, we will come back here on Tuesday and it will be very nice weather the whole time. So like you can pick them a little smaller because they're grow. But other than that, yeah, it's challenging because, pest damage, right? It's like, how much is too much damage? Oh, it's so subjective.
Absolutely. And depending on where you are in the crop, like at the beginning, you're going after every squash, but as the season progresses, half of them can be tossed.
And depending, like, okay, we have, this many orders that we need to fill. So like your standards go down a little, but then once it's abundant, then you have like very high standards. And
exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So do you guys do summer squash?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And how often do you pick it?
Every 36 hours.
Approximately. Yeah. Four times a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
We harvest Tuesday, Thursday, Friday for CSA market, farm stand stuff. And then Ellen and I split squash duty. So one of us has to pick cucumbers and zucchini every other weekend. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So then talk to me about the you pick sunflower and pumpkins. How is that going to work? Are people, that's at a different location, you said?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, it's
we're not 100% sure yet, but basically we've created, so all the sunflowers are in the front and all the squash are in the back. So the sunflowers are in a maze. So the path through them is a half acre. And I think the plan is there's going to be a booth at the front and simultaneously the end. It's the same.
Yeah, you start and finish at the same place.
And so someone will be manning the booth and handing out pruners, and people can go through and take pictures, cut sunflowers, and fill up their cup, and then they'll pay by the stem, I think, at the end after they're done.
Another way to do it is whether they can fit in a jar. So we have pint jars and quart jars.
Okay.
That's another way to think about it, because then it's easy. So you hand them a quart jar and you charge them, and then they never have to see you. Well, they have to return the clippers.
Yeah. That
anyway.
was a thought of how to do it, but it's like, oh shit, how many are going to fit in a jar? I don't know.
Yeah. And how much do we charge per jar?
Yeah. What do you charge for your jars?
So we do a quart jar is 15 and a pint is 8.
Okay.
And maybe it should be a pint is 10 and a quart is 15. Now we're not doing just sunflowers though. We have several different you pick flowers. It's not a lot. Again, you pick flowers are maybe like 2% of our business.
Yeah.
I like flowers, so I like growing a few, and it just makes me happy. Yeah, we are going to actually have a you pick flower field this year because we did a cover crop of sunflowers, and I didn't expect it to mature in time before we had to turn it under for the next crop of strawberries. But I'm looking out there, and they're starting to open. So,
cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's mixed in with sun hemp though, which is getting taller than it. So,
so you got to open the U-pick soon.
Yes, because the sun hemp will literally get 8 feet tall if we're not careful. Yeah. So you also have had your kind of share of like experiences. I mean, you had a van catch fire.
Yeah, 2020 started real rough with COVID, and then the first day of CSA delivery, our van ignited in one of the members' driveway. I don't know how it didn't catch their fence on fire, but
yeah. So I had to send the email that day to say, all right, Mount Baker members, your food is in the fridge. Central District members, your food was in our van as it burned. Please let us know if you need a refund on anything because it's charred.
Smells like burning.
And then Leshai members, your food is also in the fridge, but please, you'll have to walk around our burned out van to get to it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So we, as you had pointed out, we like to share a lot of our lives online. So we posted this, that our van had caught fire. And within 24 hours, we had 3 different offers of people who wanted to just give us free vans.
Wow.
Only one of them was actually working, so we chose.
Old Faithful.
Yeah.
The Chevy Express, man. 310,000 miles.
And it's still going
Runs
strong.
like a champion.
So is
3 years now.
Is that like a 15 passenger, 12 passenger? What size?
Yeah, it's like
it's 21 feet.
Yeah, cargo van.
Oh, big cargo van.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's big. It's great.
So then your 200 shares fit in that every week, or how many shares pick up on the farm?
About half. 100 members pick up on the farm, and then, like we said, we split it into 2 different days, so it's 50 members each day, Tuesdays and Fridays.
Yeah. So my wife is texting me because as we speak, not only is CSA pickup going on, but like people picking up their peaches. So it's literally, she's like, it's a zoo out there. Because we only have so many. We have about 71 shares that we'll pick up over between today and tomorrow. So
you got to go.
Well, we'll manage. We'll manage. Favorite tool. What is your favorite tool on the farm?
Oh gosh, I always say the tractor. I love the tractor, but it's probably because of that haunting 2019 season doing everything with the BCS, and that was very hard.
Yeah. It's a tough one. I think we have a flame weeder, the
Farmer's Friend.
Yeah, the Farmer's Friend 5-burner flame weeder.
Yep.
And that's pretty fun to use. I really like that.
Great.
Yeah.
So, and do you have a specific rhythm for that? Like how many days ahead of when you?
Yeah. So we, for our cut greens and carrots specifically, we will prep the beds and then tarp them for 3 weeks. And then we'll come back through with the flame weeder. After, we'll take the tarps off, flame weed them, and then with the carrots, we also go through and flame them again 5 days after seeding.
But not 6.
Sometimes 6 is too much.
Yeah.
Yes, gotcha. 3 weeks for a covered flower. That's nice.
And we still
we have to weed the cut greens 9 out of 10 beds.
Yeah,
I would say.
It's
it kills most things, but not curly dock or grass.
So we made the mistake the first year of putting down millet as a cover crop.
Mm.
I have mentioned so many times, but I will mention again, never plant millet. I had the crew out there, literally, they spent 2 hours weeding 2 beds of lettuce, and only thing they were really weeding out was millet. And it's nasty.
We have some of that problem. We let some buckwheat cover crop go to seed one year, and that is oops. Yeah. We've got it pretty under control now, but it was an aggressive weed for a while.
Yeah, and it's so fast, so it'll outcompete almost anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, which can be really, really frustrating. What would you say to a new farmer, someone who's just thinking about getting into farming?
Start small. Yeah. Turns out 5 acres is like a lot. It's still a micro farm in comparison, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, Ashley and I think really bit off more than we could chew year one. And so our first year of Frisky Girl Farm, I mean, it really wasn't our first year of farming because we were able to actually take a lot of customers with us from the urban farm. So, and we already had, the tools, we already had a lot of trays, we already had the BCS, we already had the seeder, we already had harvest bins. Like there were just a lot of things that that made it feel not fully like we were starting from scratch. And so the first season, though we had leased 5 acres, we had only planned to grow on 3. But basically, and we had fenced in 3 acres, but then midway through the season, our landlord hired someone to extend the fence to do the whole 5 acres. And we decided to just jump in with both feet and said, okay, fine, we'll just grow on that too. Yeah. And so we just went for it and did the full 5 acres our first season. And that was a lot. We lost a lot of beds to weeds, grass that year, which is fine. I mean, learning, right? Because we never have the lettuce before. Why would we have to weed the lettuce here? It'll be fine. No, that's not how it works.
You guys both don't have enough white hair to make it look like you farmed 5 acres.
Also, sell food to your friends because they are forgiving if you screw it up.
That's very good advice. Yeah.
I think at least 50% of the CSA members were either friends or, like I said, customers we had brought with us from the urban farm already.
So it is actually, it's really nice. Even though we have a 200 member CSA, we'll be going through lots of names. And like some days, if we're short something, it's like, oh, this person's a friend. Like we can short them and they'll be okay with it.
Brian doesn't need pickling cucumbers. He can have regular cucumbers. He won't care.
Exactly. But it's also fun too, because we have those customers who've been with us for a long time. And it's like, Ben Ewing really wants turnips and we have that one extra bunch. We're just going to throw it in his bag. He'll love that.
Hey, I have to say that's kind of how it works around here too.
Yeah,
we've got those that we know. Oh yeah, they're friends. Yeah, we can take liberties with their share a little bit.
Yeah, it's really nice, and we have just had an incredibly supportive community of CSA members and friends, and there's always people around to help out, and CSA members who have become friends and become employees, and it's great.
Very cool. Well, Ellen and Ashley, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure hearing your story and learning, how you guys farm up there and just the challenges along the way, as it were. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
This episode is sponsored by Rimmel Greenhouse Systems, makers of quality greenhouse structures. Whether you're just getting started or buying your 10th tunnel, Rimmel has a structure to fit your needs. I've purchased and grown in Rimmel houses and would recommend them to everyone. So there you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.